Hi, my name is Macy Elliott. Hi, my name is Macy Elliott.
They can be in this at any moment. They just gotta up their mental game, let their talent speak.
Amazing placement. What a shot.
A Yahtzee overhead.
Aspect of mental toughness here that's just different.
I like the body language of all four players.
Oh, look at that shot! Great hands from Kiro.
Hello and welcome to the 2023-24 APTA Tour presented by Volley. We are live from the Ridgewood Country Club in Paramus, New Jersey, bringing you the 2024 Atlantic Cup, which is the 11th stop on the 2023-24 APTA Tour, with live streaming brought to you by the APTA membership, the APTA national sponsors Volley and Fusion, and local sponsors Xenon and Red Vanley. I am Anthony Casamano here today with Patty Hogan and Guy Moore, bringing you the men's final between Guillermo Nunez and Felipe Osses-Konig versus Martin Bostrom and Alvaro Regalado. Players are warming up on the far side of the court, serving with a red, black, and white coat on. That is Alvi Regalado. His partner, Martin Bostrom, wearing the yellow cap. On the other side of the court, who has yet to wear a hat or gloves the whole tournament, Guillermo Nunez and his partner, Felipe Osses-Konig. Welcome, Guy Moore. Let's take a look at the draw and see how our players got here.
Yeah, welcome, Patty. Welcome, Anthony. Glad to be here today. So Nunez, Osses-Konig, their road to the finals here. Round of 32, they defeated Purser and Vardaikas 0-2. Round of 16, defeated Barch and McSeveny 6-2, 6-1. Quarterfinals, they beat Anton Prosinko and Louis Vauclair in a long three-setter, 3-6, 6-3, 6-1. And in the semis, they defeated Sven Burrs and Jose Salazar 6-3, 6-4. And then you have Martin Bostrom and Alvi Regalado. They're round of 32. They defeated Kolik and Makanya 6-1, 6-3. Round of 16, they defeated Dabik and Gruverovich 6-4, 6-0. Then defeated the number one seed, John Hughes and Mark Powers, in their first tournament of the season, 6-2, 6-2. And then the semis defeated Tomas Christian and Chris Humphrey 6-2, 6-0. So pretty decisive 4 rounds for that team, right, guys?
Oh, yeah, and I think we hear the voice of our umpire, Mike Yahimski, who's going to be calling this match.
From Stamford, Connecticut, Felipe Osses-Konig. And on my left, from Watchung, New Jersey, Martin Bostrom. His partner from the great country of Spain, Alvaro Regalado. Nunez, Osses-Konig won the spin, and they will receive.
Anthony and Guy, this is going to be something. This is the new wave of players. The average age of the 4 players on the court today, 29.5, with Martin Bostrom. How sweet it is. At 40, the oldest player on the court. Everyone else, 28, 26, 24. The new wave of paddle players is here. And the big 3 of Salazar, Nunez, Regalado have just made an instant footprint on the sport of platform tennis and have risen to the top of the game and are regarded, among the top 10 players out here. Salazar leading the way, number 2 in our APTA Cup standings. Just outstanding play from these 3 young guys. And Bostrom, we always expected this, and this is going to be a great match, and we're off. Martin Bostrom to serve.
And the weather at the start of the day is 24 degrees with a wind chill getting it down to 12 degrees when the wind blows out there. So it's cold, the sun's out bright, probably feels a little warmer to the players than it does to the spectator.
Yeah, and Anthony and Patty, we were talking yesterday about, the backcourt positioning of Nunez and Osses-Konig, playing Osses-Konig used to playing that backhand side, the ad side, and tell you what, he's doing a great job on that deuce side for sure in this partnership.
15-0.
Yeah, all of these guys, obviously top players in the game, can play both sides. They still have a side that they prefer, I think, a little bit.
30-15.
But watching these guys play the other courts, and really impressed by Osses-Konig's play yesterday in that deuce court, because that was the first time I ever saw him over there. And I loved his shot selection, real disciplined play, and just so impressive. And then Regalado and Bostrom just lights out. So good. They have it down where you see yesterday, Bostrom just camped out on the right side of Alvey, as he's known, and never missed a volley, never missed an overhead. They just look rock solid. And they're going to be a tough team to beat here in this final.
30-0.
Yeah, and I like the lefty in that ad side in particular matchups because the forehands on that outside wing. I will say this: if the lefty's going to play that ad side, that his backhand or her backhand, for that matter, is got to be something they really trust, because the middle's where a lot of balls are going to go to. But clearly, Nunez has no problem with his backhand.
Yeah, we've already seen him hit. We've already seen him hit 3 or 4 beautiful.
Right. Osses-Konig has that two-handed backhand up the middle. Bostrom has a two-handed backhand up the middle, and Salazar has it if he's in the deuce court. That we've seen in the the tournaments this year. So the middle is an interesting thing here, because they can not only defend it beautifully, they can be aggressive from it.
Well, think about it too. And if you say to yourself as a team, if I lob well, which means a lot of different things, but if you lob well, the ball's going to the middle. I mean, it's hard to go anywhere else if you lob the ball, beyond that service line. I mean, the angles are really eliminated. Certainly where you could get hurt in the side wire, but
you just saw that play from Nunez over in that deuce court. I saw him play a match earlier this season. I think it was Long Island, and he never missed a shot that went into his ad court corner. Never missed a point in the match I watched. It was just something unbelievable to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Former player at TCU, played big time Grand Slam junior events. The guy's got it all. We're going to get some intel during this match, you guys, from Tomas Christian and Chris Humphreys. They lost in the semis yesterday to Alvey and Martin Bostrom, and gave me some intel. We'll talk about it as this match develops a little bit. And if they see anything that they think will be fun for us to share, I'll report in.
So Anthony and Patty, you could see again that was a good ball, great ball there. But the benefits of having the lefty and the ad side, and when you have Osses-Konig in the deuce side, but when they're lobbing well again, the ball's not going to the screen, so they're blocking those forehands back, and it's hard for the net team to know, are they going to drive it or are they going to lob it? But the ball keeps like that. The ball keeps coming back quicker and quicker, which doesn't favor the net team.
You can see Martin's taking a little bit advantage of the cold weather. He's been directing traffic all of this first game. He's had 2 drop shot winners, a couple of soft overheads into the screens.
Anthony, you big fan of drop shots in the cold weather?
Of course.
And that's the move. That's why I like him over there. He cuts that ball off. And that's what Nunez likes to do. Guillermo Nunez likes to do. He likes to be vertical. That's both of these players, Osses-Konig and Nunez, like to be vertical. So it's nice to see 2 players with kind of the same strengths being successful together. It doesn't always work that way.
Advantage, Nunez, Osses-Konig. That's you. That's you. That's you. That's you.
You hear the communication on the baseline.
Yeah.
That's Osses-Konig calling it out, having really good communication with Guillermo Nunez.
Osses-Konig, they lead the first set 1-0 to love.
And you guys, I think that's a valuable lesson for everybody watching where, we're used to hearing the communication at the net, calling the lobs. The moment there's a lob, you'll hear net team, yours, mine, yours, mine. And with the top players, you also hear that communication from the baseline. Something to pay attention to.
What temperature, Patty and Anthony, do you think Nunez will actually wear a hat or gloves? Is there any temperature or no?
I think we have to be around 0.
We need that intel. We need that intel.
It was really cold yesterday with the wind blowing, and this is exactly how he looked yesterday. And I didn't see him put his hand in his pocket once, so I think he runs warm. But you'll see, we talk about the weather and the cold, and everyone knows the ball gets a little heavier. I think right now, those roller overheads that automatically stay low in the warmer weather stay a little bit lower. Everyone's going to have to work a little bit.
Yeah, the ball plays heavy, but all kidding aside, some people are affected by the sun more than others. Some people are affected by the temperature more than others. It's a factor.
And there isn't a cloud in the sky over here, and you can see the shadows. The sun's coming in pretty much straight towards the side of the court, so east-west compared to the position of the court. So it shouldn't be too bad looking into the corners.
You saw Nunez and Osses-Konig quickly switch in the backcourt. Great ball.
Love 15.
We had our first question, you guys. If you're watching and you want to ask Anthony or Guy anything, let me know. Our first question just was texted me from young Chris Humphreys, as I call him. And he wants to know, Guy, why don't you take this one?
15.
With Martin, who has just an amazing overhead, amazing serve, why is it to their benefit that he's actually playing the position more of the volley guy out here versus the guy dictating play from the overhead position, the player to the left of the two players at net? Guy, what's the benefit for them of having Bostrom right on top of the net?
Well, I honestly just think they need to figure out their net scheme. Who's hitting overheads? The benefit of having him on top of the net is he's doing his job and playing the volley position. One thing we've seen
30-all.
with a lot of these new partnerships, as good as they are, is do they have a real true net scheme? So if that's the net scheme with Regalado hitting the overheads and Martin hanging on the net, I like it. As long as they identify exactly what they want to do. So you can see them falling into that position right here.
I was thinking, Bostrom's played a ton of tournaments compared to any of the three of these guys. And I love the role he's playing. Like, we see him in a different role than what he's playing this weekend so far. And, if the guy on top of the net, there's different ways that we approach this game. And with two righties, your net scheme that allows for, full coverage of 95% of the court, it's with the guy to the left hitting more of those overheads. And, personally, to have Martin Bostrom on top of the net, knowing he's never missing, and he can cover behind him, it just frees up. And Alvi Regalado is just this dynamic, young, aggressive, really, just has tremendous firepower. And Martin is allowing the best of Regalado to come out this weekend.
Well, and it's interesting, too. It's a great question from Chris. But,
Deuce.
And it just goes back to, hey, what position am I going to play and what are my job descriptions? It becomes very basic, Patty, like you said, with two righties. You just got to know where you don't have two players hanging back on the service line fighting over overheads, unless, which could be possible here, which we haven't seen much of it so far. They're planning on playing the outside wires. Then both of them are going to be hitting more overheads. But that's a confusing scheme. You got to really buy into that. But obviously, we know Martin has a great overhead, but if their plan is to keep him on the net and play tight and let Regalado hit overheads, it's great because they know what their responsibilities are.
Yep, and one other thing about Regalado's play is not only is overhead spectacular, he's got some of the quickest hands on tour. And he's one of these guys who has tremendous success flipping his paddle from his backhand over to his forehand and never missing a beat. He's that
Amazing
exceptional.
I don't know if you saw him spin out of that corner and catch up with that ball. It's just like you said, Patty. His
Yeah,
hand
that
speed's
was
phenomenal.
Well, too, Anthony, you and I have discussed it in previous broadcasts.
Advantage Nunez, Osses-Konig.
And you said it best. I remember this. You said fast hands actually means slow hands. So his body's spinning around in a 360 and his hands are moving 1 mile an hour. That's not easy to do.
Right.
And Patty and Anthony, I mean, this match has been going on for a good 10 minutes or so, and we're still at 1-love. So,
I mean, look at that.
Right.
Sorry, guy.
Explosive
No,
first set,
no.
right? Explosive first
Well,
move by Alvey, and then slow the whole rest of the way. No problem with that. And he's playing such a mature game over there. He's looking for. You could just see it in his body language. He's looking to jump up that line. He's looking to get offense, but he's very quick to say no. He's playing very, very patient. And then, as I say that, of course, he overhits a forehand.
Game
But
Nunez,
he's been very
Osses-Konig. They
calm
lead the
and
first set, 2
really
games to
observant
love.
over there.
yeah, but even though they're down 2-love, Bostrom and Regalado, I like their partnership. They seem like they gel and move well together. Obviously, they're in the finals of a tournament and kind of ran through the draw. I mean, you don't beat John Hughes and Mark Powers 2-2 and not have a good game plan. It just doesn't happen.
Lob hits the line.
What a get.
Amazing get, and then his paddle's right up at the net there to take the follow-up volley. And just hits that long.
Yeah.
Love 15.
With Nunez and Felipe, when I see them at the net, oh my Lord, they are a blanket. They've got every shot covered. They are so fast. I mean, we all talk about how explosive they are and their offensive capabilities. A huge part of the sport is being able to defend, and if they are such phenomenal volleyers and they have such speed that they can take away a lot of the baseline weapons from Regalado and Bostrom.
See how quiet Alvey's hands were on that drive. That was a big drive.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, Anthony and Patty, how good this new wave of players, how good their forehand volley. Even though we don't encourage it, I mean, the forehand volley is just something that we all teach it. That's the spot that most players have a bit of a weakness, and certainly at the club level, and the reason they do is because they're using the wrong grip, more than likely.
Yeah, they might be using the wrong grip on their backhand and then have to make a huge grip change.
Right. Yeah, they're way over to the left on their backhand pushing, and then they can't hit a forehand volley, so they have to guess. But too, because of the transition game and the way the game has developed over the past 3 or 4 years, if you're going to transition and play vertical, you have to have both sides with a volley. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Hey, Guy, John Birchinall from Beacon Hill Club wants to know if Martin Bostrom's pink sneakers will work as an advantage.
It's funny. I was just about to comment on that when they changed sides of the court a minute ago. I mean, I don't think a Swede should be wearing pink shoes. I mean, it's got to be blue or yellow.
I think he's doing it to draw attention to himself. He wants the ball.
Well,
when you look up, what color do you see? You see a flash of pink.
Well,
Martin wants that. He's trying to reel him in.
Well, we might have to talk to Florentina about his color combinations. I don't know.
Yeah, she might need to do a video on how guys should dress getting ready for platform tennis.
No. I heard they wear the same size shoe, and they just, whatever's in front of them in the morning, they just put it on.
It's dark in New Jersey in the morning.
So what you're saying, Anthony, is they have the same shoe closet.
Exactly. All the sneakers are just right out there, and they just put one on.
40-15.
They have designated rooms for shoes.
It is funny though how many of the players are wearing pink shoes these days. I mean, just from watching and commentating. I mean, I don't know. Notice how Martin's now hitting more of the overheads and Regalado's sliding off to his right. That's a great lob right there.
Yep, and that's,
Game,
it all
Bostrom,
comes down to,
Regalado. Nunez, Osses-Konig lead the first set, 2-1.
as you guys know, a team's tactics, and, from the net in particular, needs to adjust based on the strengths of your opponents and their baseline play. So, yesterday it behooved Bostrom to play more, and, on top of the net, taking, handling more of the volleys, where there's something in the matchup against, Nunez out here in Osses-Konig that they tactically believe, Bostrom hitting more of the overheads will better serve them.
Yeah, and going back to that last point, when that lob goes down the line that deep, and I agree it was Regalado's ball, but it's almost a ball that should just be bounced. I mean, let that ball go to the back screen, and then there's no reward for a good lob. Nunez was just sitting on the middle there.
Great little hands battle there with Guillermo.
Love 15.
Very calm. Wasn't fazed by it, but fell a little bit short.
Tiernan Cavana just chimed in, and she mentioned that she's never seen someone like Nunez do what he slides a little bit on a paddle court. It was an incredible thing to think about. Oops, a spirited throwback of the balls from the crowd at Ridgewood Country Club. But Nunez, as a player, sort of glides around the court and does use a little bit of slide, kind of like a clay court tennis player.
Well, and Alvey did just that on that short drop shot as well. I heard him from the booth here. I heard him slide to get that ball as well. You don't see that too often, but that just shows you the force that they're using to move forward.
I don't think any of the three of us have slid on the court since doing the electric slide at some party in Rochester after Nationals.
Not on purpose.
15-30.
So I see a question from Eric Mann, Orange Lawn Tennis Club, asking about what's the biggest change at the top level in the last 10 years. I'm happy to weigh in on my opinion on that, and would love to hear yours as well. And I think we've heard this a few times as well, maybe from Dave Broderick. At the higher levels with these more dynamic players that can hit forehands and backhands, I think the game has become more willing. Most players are more willing to trade winners for errors. So they're playing a little bit more aggressively. They're okay missing some shots, hitting a little bit lower percentage, but actually hitting winners. And we've always thought of paddle as a game of errors, which it still is, but these guys can hit winners as well. So over the last many years, we're trading a little bit more. And I will say, in line with that, though, when the points get big and the score gets tight, I think inevitably it does switch to a more traditional game with lower, higher percentage shots. But that both of those dynamics work together now.
Yeah, and I would say too, Patty and Anthony, and for everyone who's watching them, you're seeing a much more traditional paddle match right here than we've seen maybe the whole tournament. I mean, the points are long. Even that waterfall that Martin Bostrom just hit, at this temperature, it's pretty effective if you hit it correctly. But these guys are having long points and playing a little bit slower than the tournament's been. I mean, a lot of that has to do with the temperature. But going back to that question by Eric from Orange Lawn, Yeah, I mean, the transition game, the offense,
Game
the
Bostrom
spin.
Regalado. First set is tied 2-all.
And we even said yesterday, too, that, sometimes overheads are just hit too hard into the back screen, and it turns out to create offense off the wires. But the game, in my opinion, in this match is a little bit more old school, which is good. I like it. Is become just much faster.
15 love. 30 love.
The pace of play, the match and the length of the match early on after 4 games is concerning to David Chelson, who's watching, because he's ready to go to his first nap of the day, even though he loves watching the live streaming. But he pointed out that this match is the same thing, Guy. He sees it as a more traditional match.
Game Bostrom Regalado. They lead the first set 3-2.
Patty and Anthony, let me tell you about our main sponsor for the APTA. Volley is a proud sponsor of the APTA. As the first IA-enabled training experience, Volley modernizes racket sports by delivering the on-demand, dynamic system for live play training and better workouts. Volley creates a community to connect pros and players while giving users personalized performance insights to track progress and customize their practice. Ask your pro about a Volley lesson today. For more information, visit getvolley.com.
You guys, yesterday in the quarterfinal matchup, there was an incredible match play with Chris Humphreys and Tomas Christian and Drew Broderick and Russell Bentheim. And they were in a war. Broderick Bentheim up 6-4, up, I think, 4-2. And I asked Tomas and Chris this morning what happened, and they said that Russell and all of these are these great young players in our game, so exciting to watch. Russell tagged a forehand that hit Christian in the head and was so troubled by it. He didn't do it on purpose. The ball just kept rising, hit him, and then the whole match changed because Russell Bentheim, who's such this amazing, nice young gentleman player, felt so badly about it, and it seemed to switch the entire momentum. So just a weird circumstance that shifted that whole match.
So here we are at
and then
3-2.
And then Alvey.
Oh, go ahead.
Yep, one other thing in the Alvey match last night with Christian and Humphreys and Bostrom, they just have so much regard for Regalado's play and just said he was lights out, amazing. Martin just rock solid. And score-wise, it looks like they got crushed, but it was anything but that. It was a battle. Every game was a war. So just a phenomenal game with what appeared to be a lopsided score.
I think I heard you say early in the match, Patty, being down 2-love with Bostrom and Regalado was not going to be an issue, and here we are at 3-2.
Yeah, in those first couple games, there were some uncharacteristic errors. Not a big deal. Just getting used to the temperature and the feel of the ball. I think, where are we, Anthony? 24 degrees and then a little wind chill. It's drop downs, 14, 15 degrees?
That's what it says, yes. So,
can you imagine what it felt like getting hit in that temperature yesterday by Tomas Christian? It's good. He is hard-headed. And I heard the ball went to another court.
That's the first thing I thought of when you said that, Patty. You don't really want to get hit with this ball at this hard.
Yeah. Macy Elliott, I have a couple commentators from afar chiming in, giving me some intel. Macy said it cleared 2 screens. Went all the way to the other court. Tomas was a soccer player.
40 love.
Let's see if they fall into this scheme where Nunez is hitting more overheads. Certainly did there, right? got to be careful with that Bostrom backhand. That's one of his biggest weapons. He snaps it quick. So those neutralizing overheads are nice and deep. If one's short, you can bet that Martin's going to step up and drive it.
Game, Nunez, Osses-Konig. First set is tied 3-all.
Anthony and Patty, I have a question for you guys. So you have Regalado, big forehand in the middle, big backhand from Martin Bostrom in the middle. We know, again, like we talked about earlier, the better you lob, the more balls that have to be played to the middle. What are your thoughts on making sure you know whose offense that you're looking for in the middle from the baseline?
Do you want to take it if you got that, Anthony?
Sure. Well, we talk
you want
about
me to-
you talk about backcourt, but you talk about backcourt communication and speaking about it. And I hear that a lot from a lot of the people I'm working with is whose ball is the one in the middle. And you want to talk about that as a team. Who am I setting up? Am I setting up my shot or your shot? And with both of them able to hit that ball in the middle, you're gonna as a default defer to someone, whoever that is. And it's going to change. It's going to move a little bit if the ball comes a little bit left or right or crosses the hash, because they're both looking for it. But it is good to talk about who's the one leaning closer to that ball when it's coming there. Who are we setting up?
And it's really, when you talk about the middle, in my opinion, is defined in two ways. When you've hit a lob that's going to create offense, or when you hit a short lob where you have to play more defensive-minded. So, the middle changes in terms of, are we looking for offense or are we playing defensively based on how good our lob was, or even a drive? Because if I'm playing the ad side, then we both, from the baseline, look and see that someone's going to hit the overhead towards me. The drift is my partner in the middle and me covering my corner. However, if it's a deep lob, then we have to 100% know whose offense we want in that middle.
Yes, you kind of declare
40-50.
with your partner what you're looking for. And you guys, hey, this is a critical point in the match. Regalado and Bostrom have grabbed huge momentum swing here. Little pressing from Nunez possibly. Osses-Konig a little pressing slightly. I feel a little bit of a shift here. And I think one other comment about having Bostrom hit more overheads. I know he can carve up his opponents. He's won mixed nationals a couple times with floor. He's got a wonderful overhead, and I would say Nunez, as you can see, a phenomenal lobber off the deck with his forehand. Not a phenomenal lobber yet off the screens, and that would be something just to look for if Bostrom starts going after him a little bit. Just his little bit of inexperience could come into play there.
Great lob sets up a blitz, and we're to deuce.
Advantage, Bostrom, Regalado.
I like that look, though. I mean, he was looking for it. I mean, he had to move a lot, but I do like him attacking that ball, especially with his forehand there. And Anthony and Patty, it's a neat thing to see, because Osses-Konig loves moving forward so much, how he's played the role of just setting up Nunez here a little bit. I mean, he's darn good at it. I mean, but usually he's the one moving forward, getting involved in those quick hand combat. So
Yeah,
we've seen
I've
more of
noticed
that
the
from
same
Nunez
thing.
today.
Yeah, I think he's deferring to Nunez on that for sure.
Yeah, in a great way.
Well, when you talk about roles, when you're talking about who's backhand, who's driving the middle, are we setting up? It's the same idea. You can't have both players crashing the net at the same time, so you want to defer to the person that maybe is a little quicker, a little bit more effective.
You saw a little bit of overhead style there, reminiscent of when he plays with Chris Humphries, where Felipe, I think, to his credit, threw a couple of those off-pace balls. He realizes the tempo of this match and how's it going, and he's hitting like kind of those off-pace balls where I remember what Osses-Konig when he came onto the scene. There was never an overhead. He didn't put his entire body, spirit, everything in, and just
Bostrom, Regalado.
blasted the ball. And he's getting a great sense of how you have to adjust the paces of your overheads depending on your opponent's play.
I tell you what, Regalado and Bostrom are doing a great job of is hitting soft overheads, those down up overheads to the corners where they're just dying, or at least hitting the nick. A great volley, great forehand volley. You see how
Bostrom, Regalado, they lead the first set 4-3. I got a new ball for you guys.
That was a big game, and I'll say Alvy and Martin played very composed, and I think Nunez in that one, I think you even mentioned it, Patty, he pressed a little bit. I know you said, Guy, you liked that forehand that he jumped onto the side. I thought it was a little bit too aggressive in that moment, and then he did that twice where they lost the point with aggressive forehands, and it just came back to bite them a little bit there. And Martin, Bostrom, and Regalado played a very, very tight game.
The first one, and I agree with you. The second one was a little bit of a press. But I think that lefty playing that ad side is kind of sitting on it sometimes. But if you're off balance, either the drive down the line right at somebody because it's hard for them to move, or a quick lob down the line makes the ball go the other way anyway. Anthony, when you and Stevie were playing, I kind of know the answer to this question, but I'll ask anyways. Did you guys ever mix it up where you played that side or no?
Really didn't. We really didn't do it that much. Towards the end of our competitive match career, we did mess around with that a little bit, but we played very traditional lefty-righty. Steve was so good at jumping his line with his forehand over there. That was my job to set him up, and he liked to set up my backhand on the other side of the court. So.
Right. So, yeah, but by him pushing that ball down the line, or like you said, jumping on his forehand quick, the ball moved, and you were always sitting on your backhand there anyways.
And look at the play of Bostrom out of that deuce court in this match, just rock solid. This is what he's been up to all tournament long. We know Martin has as much offensive ability as anybody off the deck, forehand or two-handed backhand. But like we said, they've got a role, they've got a tactical plan in this match. It was a little slow to develop there, but they didn't change anything really, from what I could see. And the keys for them to win this match are him doing exactly what he's doing, being really patient, getting those guys to hit a lot of balls, and they're picking and choosing when they're going to pull the trigger on offense.
Yeah, I agree. Both Regalado and Bostrom are lobbing the balls and lobbing with a lot of purpose and making their drives, or when they do drive, very obvious. They're not pulling the trigger too early. Great cover by Martin. But he's already there, and that's what we were talking about the middle. You see the ball go to Regalado, or you see the ball. And one of the things about Martin Bostrom, too, is, and all the players do it, but you could see him if you just focus on his split step. Every single time the ball's being hit, he's splitting, and he's on the balls of his feet, so he can move left, right, forward, backwards.
Yeah, and I think the footwork is what is the standout difference to me when you watch the highest level in this sport compete. There's nobody standing still. They're always jockeying for position. A lot of times in the club level, you see people, they look like they're in quicksand, just pretty much crazy glued to a spot on the baseline, and then they react to the ball, where these guys obviously thinking ahead, a couple shots ahead, and that's how they're really able to adapt quickly to something that might be surprising to us in watching the match, because their footwork is going to allow for any adjustment with their paddle.
True, and going back to Martin, and all kidding aside, he's played more years than the other three players on the court, but I have to say, he's lobbing more to the right spots. in this match, not pulling the trigger early, and very, very, tell you what, good game plan.
Well, that point, the previous point, just played out exactly how we were talking about it. I think if we were to count that, I'd say 75 hits, strikes of the ball in that last point. No over-aggressive plays by Bostrom and Alvey, and Nunez and Osses-Konig hit an overhead out. So they're being so patient. They're forcing the net team to make some decisions that they may not want to make. So really effective play. That was very, very patient.
Well, and almost like, I mean, it's a tight match, obviously, but I almost like Martin, Bostrom, and Regalado's backcourt scheme more than their net scheme. I mean, I just like what I'm seeing. I mean, they're making Nunez and Osses-Konig work so hard for every single point at the net
guys.
because of those lobs.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Sometimes you don't notice as much how precise some of these lobs are. When we talk about Martin Bostrom lobbing with purpose, you can see he's going to move it. He's going to move it left there. And now he's going to move it a little to the right, and then so he's very strategic about where he's putting that ball to break that net team down just enough to give Alvey a chance to jump on it. But I said you have to look for this offense, but be very quick to say no, and that's what they're doing. They're looking. Martin's probing, but they're not jumping too early, right? And they're making good decisions at this point.
And Anthony, that's a great point about the lobbing of Bostrom right there. You can just see, you move it. A lot of people play baseline and just lob every ball cross court and then can't understand why they can't win the point, where Bostrom is showing that you've got to just air them out. You've got to spread out the defense on the other side. And when you get an opening, because you've hit a little better lob or a lob that just, causes a little bit of hesitation, that's when you pull the trigger.
Yeah, these guys, Regalado and Bostrom, they're not looking to drive right now. They are looking to lob. I mean, that is their mindset. So when it's time to drive, it will become very obvious. But it's clear to me that they are willing to win this match by offensively lobbing and waiting for the best opportunity to drive the ball when that net team's out of position.
There you have it.
Right there, they didn't drive one ball
30,
that entire
40.
point.
And then when he drove, it was an off-speed ball.
Off-speed probing drive.
He had the guy straight ahead of him, a little bit off the net, and just rolled that ball, and the ball just dipped in this cold weather quickly down, forcing an error. I think a lot of times when people get their first look and after a long point, they drive the ball as hard as they physically can drive a ball, where I think that's another difference with the highest level. They pull the trigger with a drive, but the drive, they've got 4 different speeds that they can pull the trigger on that drive. And it all depends on the positioning of that person at the net.
Yeah, he doesn't miss that one much, but I do love where he was lobbing that ball down the line.
Yeah. I think he looked a little bit into the sun on that one as well, and I think that's the first mistake we've seen out of him on lobs in that corner, so he wasn't happy about it.
Yeah, so the sun is a factor, Anthony?
Yeah, just a little bit coming out of that corner. You can see the shadows are right in that direction you're going to look when you look behind you from that ad corner on the near side.
Yeah, there's a good example of a drive, and that drive there, the only meaning of that drive is so the next lob could be better. You're pulling your opponent in, pulling Nunez in, and then the next ball is a lob. We call that lob recovery. So you drive a ball and you fall into lob recovery, back up where you're going to lob the person you just drove the ball against.
Since we're getting so many lobs off the deck from Regalado Bostrom, I'll just point out the reason why they're amazing and they're not missing anything. If they lob off the backhand, they keep their follow-through. It's staying on the same side of their body. If they lob a forehand, it stays almost on the same side of their body. You don't see them lobbing and swinging across their body. That's a huge difference from most club-level players and the pro level. And they've all got continental grip. We talk about it all the time. So they can go forehand, backhand, lob with a little bit of backspin, which gives them distance control. Just that little bit of backspin lets them really spot their lobs exactly where they want to hit them.
And I love that lob, 5 balls to go down the line to Nunez from Regalado. That move the ball over to Martin. Martin and Bostrom and Regalado are making these guys work so hard for every single point. And notice they're softening them up. Both of them are standing back by the service line. Look at them right now. Whereas yesterday when we watched Nunez and Osses-Konig play clear plan where Nunez was hitting more of the overheads, very effective as a lefty as well. But because of all this lobbing, they potentially make them fight over forehands in the middle. You see Nunez hit that overhead. Yep, they got to have a plan here.
Hey, Guy and Anthony, Paul Stulak wants to know, is Bostrom lobbing more than usual because of the temperature?
I believe he's lobbing more than usual because of a plan.
I would agree. Martin is knows exactly what he's doing there, and he's taking Nunez and Osses-Konig. They want to play fast. They want to move. They're athletic. They want to be in these points. They love that transition play, and they're taking all of that away from these guys. See how slow they are up there? They hate being slow, and that's what Martin's doing. He's just keeping them slow.
And you'll see, Patty and Anthony, that, as the match and the dynamic of the match develops, you'll see the lob to drive ratios change based on what's working and what's not. But, this is just based on what's happening here. It's going to be a grinding match. Great pickup there.
This match could go right up to the 4 o'clock football game today. I think it starts at 3.
And there's Martin.
Deuce.
Drive down the middle with the backhand. He's using it very judiciously. Great shot. It was short. It's that 100% confidence shot. And it brings it to deuce.
Hey, that's a great shot of our umpire, Mike Yahimski, up in the chair. I think he's got a red Snuggie on today.
Yeah. Hopefully it's from Region 1 President's Cup. The last time we won it, what was it, 09 or 08?
Yeah, yours were blue, though, Guy, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
Mike's a great umpire for the APTA at an Indian Trail Club. And speaking of the Indian Trail Club, congratulations to our announcer, Anthony Casamano, for his new position, taking over, directing that program over there. Indian Trail, awesome club, amazing facility. Bevan Romaine and crew doing a phenomenal job, and they are so lucky to have you, Anthony. We wish you well with your next professional endeavor starting tomorrow.
Thank you, Patty. I'm super excited about it. And yes, Mike Yahimski is wearing an Indian Trail Snuggie up there. So shout out to all my new Indian Trail peeps. Can't wait to start tomorrow. Really exciting time and great club. Great club. Really excited.
Well, I hope the Indian Trail Club gave you a stipend for shopping at the Market Basket, Anthony.
I've been there many times in the last week or so.
Go ahead, Pat.
Ron Cummins has a question. Regalado, he's used to playing really fast. At some point,
that's a great spot.
Does this slow play hurt Regalado?
Nunez, Osses-Konig, first set is tied 4-all.
Sorry.
Well, I'll take that one. I don't think it does. One of the things I saw from him yesterday, I didn't have a chance to watch a lot, but I watched a good portion of one of the matches he played, and I remember saying to myself just how mature of a player he is, being so new to the game. So I do know that he likes to be dynamic. He likes to drive, but I don't get the sense that he's, itching to drive that ball. He's playing so patient. that, I don't think it's working against him. He doesn't look like he's ready to jump out of his shoes. I think he's making really good choices.
So we're at 4-all in the first set. I mean, that game, to me,
That
was
was a huge
critical
game.
to the outcome of
Absolutely.
the set. I mean,
Absolutely.
that felt like 4 games won for for Nunez and Osses-Konig.
Yeah, they were down 40 love, right?
Yep, it was only 1 game, but it was gigantic.
Yep. And I feel like if there was anything I would say to Regalado and Bostrom is cover your corners and block that soft ball, because the middle's not hurting them at all. I mean, they're lobbing so well from there, but because of the temperature, the ball goes soft into the corner, it's going to die.
Great backhand drive by Osses-Konig. He was really measured that ball well. Very impressed with the way he took that swing.
And you can see, Osses-Konig, when he plays the ad court, just rocks his forehand, but it seems that he's favoring his two-handed backhand and, has moved around an option for a forehand, because I think him hitting his two-handed backhand, even going out wide to toward that side screen, is beneficial for him to spot maybe a more effective drive against Bostrom, and Regalado here.
I agree. He's got that short backswing there. He can take it inside out. He can take it in the middle, down the line. That's a great play.
And you got to go with what you're feeling, Like we said, if Bostrom's feeling better on one side versus the other, he can pull the trigger on either side. Why not? What an amazing thing to have in your arsenal or your tool chest. Just pull out, and I'll say, okay, I'm going with my two-handed backhand over my incredible forehand.
Yeah, I agree with you, Patty. He's just got to know what he's looking for, not looking for both sides, and he does a good job of that for sure. And going back to the previous point where Nunez jumped that forehand, I mean, that pattern and scheme, I love, setting up that shot over there.
And you see Osses-Konig went over, they switched courts, and first overhead Martin hit, Osses-Konig just ripped that two-handed backhand. I feel like he's feeling it. Albie seems to have cooled off just a little bit.
Well, I mentioned a little bit earlier about Osses-Konig and Nunez playing. They like to play aggressive, and they're taking these last 2 games into their own hands, right? They're creating movement that they like. They're creating those athletic shots.
15-40.
Nunez has blitzed 3 or 4 or 5 times already in this game to bring them up 40-love and now 40-15, and that favors them. And now Bostrom and Alvaro are going to have to change a little bit as well.
Yeah, I don't think Bostrom's faced two game points against his serve all tournament, probably.
And you notice, too, Martin is serving that overhead serve now. I mean, kind of early in the season was experimenting with the topspin serve, but I haven't seen that much from him lately. Which I agree with. His serve, with the amount of spin he puts on it, is one of the best in the game. Let's see, Patty and Anthony, if Nunez. That's a great ball.
A great drive, and it's the first one he's hit from the forehand side, which surprised them. Huge game.
And he was back on his back foot, deep in the court. We usually don't say, hey, drive that ball, but when you're feeling it, and these guys, their skill set is out of the world amazing. He felt that shot, and he saw that there was room in front of the person standing in front of him as a net. That's the key, and he went with the perfect pace ball. Awesome forehand drive.
Awesome shot. And when it really matters, these players, Bostrom and Alvaro, they're not going to miss balls that they expect. So if they're expecting a shot, you can see they are not going to miss a ball. So you have to potentially take some of these shots that are going to surprise someone. You're going to win a point when you surprise. And it's the first forehand drive he took a little deep in the court, like you said, Patty. And they just weren't quite ready for that because they hadn't seen it all day. And that's how you sneak out a point or two.
You got it. Far side, the lefty. That's Guillermo Nunez. His partner today, Felipe Osses-Konig. On the near court, in the deuce court in light blue, that's Martin Bostrom, and then that's Alvi Regalado at the Orange Lawn Club over there in the ad court. Bostrom is the pro at Plainfield Country Club and is taking on a new position later in the year. Morris County, congrats to Martin Bostrom.
15 love.
Guillermo Nunez is the pro up at Pelham Country Club, graduate of TCU. And Felipe is a personal trainer. It takes a lot to tire that guy out.
Wow.
30 love.
Alvy wanted me to give him a shout out to the Orange Lawn Club, so piggybacking on what you just said there, Patty, shout out from Alvy to Orange Lawn.
Orange Lawn well represented in the game with B. Lopez really making her mark on the game as well as Alvy.
And Anthony, going back to your point a game or so ago, you know, you have Osses-Konig and Nunez starting to play more their speed. It's becoming a little faster. You could see what's happening here, which is exactly what they want. So recognizing when to speed up a match, when to slow down a match. You can see the overhead's becoming a little bit harder here. Patty and Anthony, what do you think? I mean, this happened a couple times earlier in the season. I know it sounds a little silly if they wanted to speed it up, because as good as their hands are, Osses-Konig and Nunez hitting some shorter volleys to encourage the drive to create more transition.
I love it, personally. I think it's great. I think, you know, matches are about who's dictating play, tempo, all of that. And, I mean, incredible shift in all of that to the credit of Felipe and, you know, Guillermo. Like, their level of play has just gone way, way up.
Let's see if we get this forehand of Nunez set up here on the outside wing over there. I like that.
I'll tell you, you know, the offense has gone to Osses-Konig here late in the later parts of this set, and you know, I don't even feel like they need Nunez's forehand at this moment, because Osses-Konig is delivering forehand or backhand.
He sure is.
And that's the point. You know, it's rare that you get two players executing lights out level at the same time in matches, and you have ebbs and flows. And I think great teams know how to ride the hot player. Yeah, I was wondering if we'd seen more of Bostrom on the left position at the net, going after Nunez in that corner with his incredible swing variety. Hasn't played out yet.
That's the one I'm talking about. I think that's the play they're looking to set up. And you're right, Patty. Osses is amazing over there. But
What a point. Nunez, Osses-Konig worked that point really well. Great balance of drives, lobs, pushed them off on the net, off the net.
Right, and it looked like Nunez was dead in the water right there, and you know, he has such composure over there, and he's going 100 miles an hour and has total control of the next shot that he hits. Fast feet, slow hands.
And I think the main thing that Nunez and Osses-Konig have done here is sped up the match. I mean, that's changed the tempo. You see Regalado and Bostrom driving a little bit more, whether they're probing or not. But the tempo of the match has changed in the favor of Nunez Osses-Konig. Speed-wise.
15.
All right, just got to forget that overhead error fast.
Fast. There's a little time to forget that.
Game, Nunez, Osses-Konig, they win the...
And there's the shag by Alvaro. We will be right back in just a moment after these messages right here on the APTA YouTube channel presented by My Paddle.
Ready for a whole new training experience? Welcome to Volley. At Volley, we've developed the first AI training system for racket sports, providing pros with the advanced teaching tools they've been waiting for, and giving players a new way to level up their game and enhance their time on the court. Ask your pro about a volley lesson today and learn what Volley can do for you. We'll see you on the court.
Hi, my name is Macy Elliott, and my tip of the week is on your roller. A lot of times when I see people hit rollers, they tend to go over the ball because they want to bring it down and create more spin. But when you do that, you're actually going to create a lot of pressure on your elbow. So a lot of times when people get tennis elbow, it's from that. Instead, I want you to go straight up on the ball and pretend like you're going to finish all the way up with your knuckles to your ear. This upward motion will create more spin and it will grab less of the ball than if you were to go over it. If you grab too much of the ball, you don't get as much spin and it's not quite as effective versus going straight up the back and finishing up by your ear. I'm Macy Elliott. Hope you enjoyed this tip of the week. I'll see you on the courts.
Welcome back to the APTA Tour. We are live from the Ridgewood Country Club in Paramus, New Jersey for the Atlantic Classic Men's Final between Guillermo Nunez and Felipe Osses-Konig versus Martin Bostrom and Alvaro Regalado. Nunez Osses-Konig took the first set 6-4. Fantastic first set. Changed a few strategy, a little late strategy change towards the end of that set. Picked up the pace a little bit in favor of Nunez Osses-Konig. I think that was the deciding factor. Patty, Guy, what's going to happen here? What happened late in that set, and what's happening at the beginning of this set?
Well, you said it best, Anthony. That's exactly what happened. Nunez and Osses-Konig picked up the pace, and we even talked about it early on. You know, two players who like to play faster, who like to come forward, who like to move vertically. But I think they're complementing each other so well because of their patience in picking and choosing their times. But they started hitting overheads a little bit harder, and Nunez was looking for that forehand on the lefty wing on the ad side, and it creates ball movement is what it does. Whether he drives it or not, you're not sure if he's going to. But, you know, Martin Bostrom and Regalado, I don't want to say they're going to have to play a little faster, but they're certainly going to have to protect their corners and not let that softball get in there. But we talked about lob drive ratio. I wouldn't be surprised if you started seeing them play just a little quicker here.
I think that's going to be the case. I think we're going to see a little change, right? There not much needs to change there. Tight set. Alvaro Regalado to serve. He's serving this first game of the second set. If you're just joining us on the near side of the court,
15-all.
on the ad side, Guillermo Nunez. On the do side, Felipe Osses-Konig. Serving right there was Alvaro Regalado and his partner Martin Bostrom in the white baseball cap.
Yeah, the end of that first set, we were at 3-4, critical game that Nunez, Osses-Konig came through, tied it up at 4-all, and the momentum totally shifted, as did the pace of play, all the tempo you guys are referring to. I think Bostrom Regalado here are kind of playing in, to the pace that Osses-Konig, I think, is the one who's kind of determining this right here, and it looks like he's convinced Nunez to play a certain tactical, way, and I think that as a result, their level of play has gone up, lights out in this, toward the end of that first set. And I think second set, I still think Bostrom's got to hit more overheads and go after Nunez. I think
30-15.
Felipe Osses-Konig is playing another wonderful match out here, super disciplined. And, the only bit of inexperience that shows up in Nunez's game possibly is off of screens. So the Bostrom overhead going after that might be the tactic that they need. I'm not sure they'll go there because I'm not sure that Bostrom Regalado, I think they sort of had an idea, like Guy always refers to, do they have the scheme set up in their minds? I'm just not sure that they'll talk it through to get an adjustment.
Yeah, you can see how quick, obviously lefty-righty, they switch out the net, but Nunez is hitting most of the overheads here. And if they move over playing that deuce side, you'll see Osses-Konig even go off the court to give Nunez room to swing at that. And even the last point that they lost with the missed volley by Osses-Konig, who cares? He was in the right spot. Tactically, great decision-making, and I love the scheme, as you said, Patty.
Double. 30-0.
And Anthony and Patty, so think about it too with where Osses-Konig and Nunez are hurting them. Certainly the last part of that first set, they hurt them in transition. They didn't hurt them at the net, right? They hurt them making them move their overheads around. So another thought process that, years ago was more of a tactical decision teams would make. You can give up the net and break that backcourt team's tempo because the offense, like here, the offense is coming from transition, but you eliminate the transition by giving up the net. Look how far off the court Osses-Konig is. He's at the gate. Look at him. He's touching the gate.
Well, and then it makes it crystal clear that, Nunez is going to take the next ball, obviously, and he can hit the ball anywhere he wants on the court.
Well, not only that, as big as he's swinging, Osses-Konig is 100% out of his way.
Deuce. Advantage, Nunez, Osses-Konig.
You just feel like the vibe is Osses-Konig Nunez here. They just seem like they got the bounce in their step, and their movement seems, just really fluid movements. Just a little flat on the other side right now from Bostrom and Regalado.
Martin just
Yeah, and you didn't see.
Nunez,
Yeah, you didn't.
Osses-Konig, they lead the second set, 1-0.
Yeah, you didn't see him drive many balls like that the whole first set. Just a little frustration.
Yeah. And
Hey guys, one thing real fast, I just have to give a quick shout out. I want to get it in here. Next weekend we'll be headed to Detroit for the third Grand Prix of the year. We'll be out there live streaming all weekend long from Detroit, Michigan. We'll follow up there. We'll take a weekend off, and then we'll head to Short Hills. Always an amazing tournament. That's going to be followed by Indianapolis, followed by the Philly Open, as we march toward Nationals up in Boston, March 8th through 10th. This has been an amazing year on the APTA Tour. We have 16 stops. Fraser Morgan have 2 tour wins. No one, it's wide open in the race to the Cup toward the end of the season, the race to Nationals. Durant Mitchell don't even have a tournament win this year. Regalado, Salazar have one. Salazar, Nunez have one. Araya McNerney have one. Ong Steinman have one. And Benkind Humphreys have one. So the race to Nationals wide open, especially with all these change in partners. We don't even know who's playing together in Nationals.
Yeah, Patty, we were talking about before the broadcast today too. Like Nunez and even Osses-Konig and Salazar and Regalado. I mean, these guys are all good friends, so they love playing tournaments together and mixing it up. I actually agree with it. It gives opponents different looks and keeps everything fresh.
It's getting louder out there. A lot of passionate calling going on for every shot with Osses-Konig and Nunez.
You talked a little bit about body language and energy, and this first point here, or second, third point here in this game, Alvy and Martin they're feeling a little bit more dynamic. It feels like they're going to go for a few more shots. We saw 2 slice cutter drop shots, so I think they understand they're going to have to really test these guys.
14 degree with the wind factor out here, and look at this crowd. Ridgewood Country Club, kudos to Louisville Claire, Connor Breen. They did a fabulous job with their organization in this event. Jackie Cameron, Ann Waldron, the usual suspects, everybody chips in. It takes a village to pull these events off. And, the crowd out here is just so fun to see. The fire pits were going all day yesterday and out there keeping everybody warm. And New Jersey paddle fans, they come bundled up. I mean, they are prepared. The hut doesn't allow for too many of those people to watch from inside, and these guys know it, and they want to watch the action up close and personal, and so fun to see all of that, all of the crowd out there.
So this is a big game, Anthony and Patty. You had Bostrom and Regalado up.
Advantage Nunez, Osses-Konig.
40-15 again, and here we are.
Huge point. Let's see if the
Game and Nunez, Osses-Konig. They lead the second set, 2-0.
What a turnaround in this match. This
4-3, 40 love.
Yeah, I'm going to look to Bostrom here. I think he's going to have to assert himself a little bit more out here.
Nunez and Osses-Konig are absolutely following up on the last couple of games of that second set. They've changed the pace of this match. They're keeping it exactly at the pace they want it right now. Felipe is hitting a few more backhand drives. Amazing short backswing, so precise.
Oh my Lord, in the hands of Nunez on that play. He throws up the lob and charges in, and all of a sudden, boom, there's a bullet at him. He handles it like it's nothing.
I mean, the last 2 volleys, forehand volleys in the middle, just spectacular. No backswing, just right there. Wow.
Amazingly spotted
15
drive
love.
by Alvy there. Had a good time. And you talked a little bit about it in the first set about forehand volleys, right? We don't teach forehand volleys. We know when time is short, you don't have time to move your paddle from backhand to forehand. But one thing we probably don't say often enough is if you are going to volley with your forehand, it has to be that similar mindset as the backhand, right? We're not swinging at that ball. We're catching that ball. We got to let it get there, and quiet hands prevail there too. So we see a lot more forehand volleys at this level. but they're just as quiet as the backhand volleys. We're not going for winners on those either.
That's a great point.
And especially as a lefty-righty combination. I mean, there's 2 forehand volleys in the middle. I mean, there's going to be a lot of times you have to hit them.
Yes, it's going to happen.
I go back to what we discussed earlier in this match over and over again. I think the person that is allowing the success for Nunez and Osses-Konig is Osses-Konig. I mean, he is playing he's playing a different side. Obviously he's looking to move there, but letting Nunez do more of the vertical transition damage, and he's just sitting on his backhand like that.
Just sitting on it. It's such a weapon.
But it must be a different mindset for him to say, hey, I'm going to set you up, Guillermo, and you can do some of the movement and damage up front. I mean, it's a good game plan. It really is.
I'm going to go, it's a great game plan.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's a great game. Anytime, I mean, look at the pressure that Martin and Alvey have on every single lob. They don't know. They see Felipe creeping in. They see Guillermo creeping in every single time. I think we've all been in a match where you say, I can't even misplace this overhead by a foot or else I'm going to get crushed. So that's a lot to think about.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. You are so correct. And look, I mean, now it's kind of changed.
Holy cow, what a get, by the way.
What a get.
Yeah.
Another one right behind it.
And notice Osses-Konig right even across that center service hash mark when that ball's deep into the corner. And so is Nunez.
Hey, this
drift.
Yep, Guy, and, it's amazing when you watch this with the vantage point from watching behind the baseline of Osses-Konig and Nunez there. They have a stagger, which I've never really seen this prominent in a match where you have Osses-Konig in the blue and you have Nunez playing a couple steps behind him in the green. It almost looks like a stagger that you see at the net.
Right.
Yeah.
Here it is. Felipe sneaking in, just making his presence known right at the baseline, or, one step inside. And Nunez just playing deep.
Yes. The interesting thing, too, is what are we talked about it the whole match.
Game.
What are we looking to set up here?
Osses-Konig lead the second set 2-1. They won the first 6-4.
So I believe that Osses-Konig is trying to set up Nunez's forehand, and Nunez is trying to set up Osses-Konig's backhand in the middle. And by what you said, Patty, him playing basically on the baseline or inside the baseline, they hit a short ball, and there's a laser going to come back to them from the middle from Osses-Konig.
Yeah, I think the overhead placement of Regalado and Bostrom has to improve a little bit.
And I agree with you 100%, Patty, and that's kind of in line with what I was saying, is there's so much pressure there that every time that ball goes up, they're thinking about where am I going to place this ball? And it has to get a little bit better, but there's a lot of pressure on them. And guys that can hit such good overheads, like Martin and Alvey, they can hit great overheads, and I feel like I'm not going to go so far as to say they're afraid to hit those overheads, but I don't feel like they're in control of the net, and they should be.
15 love.
And there you see, you see Nunez forehand again, a big.
Right, and Bostrom didn't hit as great as overhead there. He didn't really use his legs, kind of all armed it, and in this temp, it just didn't have enough juice on it to impact Nunez. Regalado threw 2 overheads there into Nunez's backhand, which I actually think is an interesting way to attack him, because I just love his forehand, and he seems to pick up anything out of that corner. as a lefty over there. Low, high, with
15
spin
all.
or anything. There's such quickness. Meaning if I'm hitting overheads, I want Nunez to beat me off his backhand, not his forehand.
Exactly. Interesting too, with Nunez and Osses-Konig both playing sides that they're familiar with, but different from what they usually play. It just gives them a lot of opportunity, even if they're playing with their familiar partner. Osses-Konig with Chris Humphreys and Nunez with Jose Salazar. I mean, it gives them the ability to feel comfortable in the backcourt to change sides if they want to break the tempo or the rhythm of an opposing team if they're not getting the looks they want. Because when your opponents in the backcourt change sides, it changes your spots where you're hitting your overheads, because there's different strengths and weaknesses on each side.
I kind of want Bostrom to say to Regalado, hey, you be you right now. Let's go. Because I feel like it's almost like Regalado is kind of deferring to Martin a little bit here, where I want him to make his presence known. He is so phenomenal and so dynamic as a player, and I almost am looking for him to actually go for a little bit more here.
And they're switching sides.
And there's your switch in the back, like we just kind of talked about. So, and Patty, I agree with you for sure. I thought, the first part of that set that we played there, that the tempo favored Martin Bostrom and Regalado, but towards the end of that second set, and the momentum shift after that big game, but speeding it up is something I think they need to do.
Great get by Nunez on that drop shot.
And Guy and Anthony,
And the pressure
you can
doesn't
walk
stop.
on a court.
The pressure doesn't stop. Nunez is in their face. Wins the point.
Yep, you can walk on the court with a game plan, and then from that game plan, you have to pivot during a course of a long paddle match.
30-15.
Dozens of times potentially. And I think that's what the great teens know how to do. They know when to make that call, when to pivot, and alter a strategy, even if it's like, okay, our overheads need to be aimed to that board, not that board, or
Right.
I need you to do this for me. You've got to continue with the tactical adjustments when your team's feeling it and when your team's not feeling it. You got to know when to put your foot on the gas and when to take it off the gas.
Yep.
30-40.
I agree 100%, Patty, and that's and like you said, it's going to happen multiple times. Not only in a set, it could happen in a game, and it could happen in a moment. And the best players can do it quickly. Great
Bostrom,
point.
Regalado, second
Everyone,
set is
I
tied
don't know if you've
2-2.
all noticed, but everyone's amping up their games. The last 4 points, we've gone to a new level here. These points are absolutely amazing.
Right, and I love the move. Regalado, Bostrom knew that he was going to rip that forehand. Bostrom was confident he was going to keep it low and made the move forward, and I love that. We need to see a spark, and maybe that's the spark they need.
And notice too, I think we're starting to see Martin hitting more of those spin overheads that are so effective.
We're at 2-2. We just had a ball change. Alvi Regalado to serve. So, Patty, this is what you wanted to see a little bit more of. Martin hitting some overheads into Nunez's corner. Let's see what happens here.
That is the movement, though, Nunez and Osses-Konig wanted, for sure.
Yes. Alvey just put it in a great spot. No pace, died in the corner.
You like that look, Anthony?
30 love.
I do.
Sure.
I like that look.
It's the first one we've seen Nunez push. He pushed that one a little bit. He had the right move.
He did.
Shot.
He was going to the right spot, though, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked like he was indecisive.
Yeah, just a little non-committal on that one. Feels like that's the first time I've seen someone indecisive in this match.
Yeah, you could see a little bit more of a definitive net plan from Martin and Alvey now. Alvey's sliding to his right, letting Martin get more balls. And
Martin whispered
30,
something in
15.
Alvey's ear after that successful overhead. So I don't know if they maybe just said this is the way to do it. And we'll see if that changes the net scheme a little.
I just think they should switch like a lefty-righty. Get Bostrom over to the left of Regalado right here.
Yep.
let him develop some rhythm on those overheads.
And that's what I was wondering if Martin had said
40,
to
15.
Alvey on that point, right after that point.
Game, Bostrom, Regalado. They
Another
lead the
momentum
second
change.
set, 3-2. Nunez, Osses-Konig won the first, 6-4.
Patty and Anthony, in collaboration with the APTA, Fusion is at the forefront of personalized gear and apparel. Backed by a team of seasoned industry experts, we provide exclusive access to high-end products from top-tier retail brands, all poised for customization with your club logo, team name, or corporate branding. Our streamlined approach guarantees a hassle-free shopping experience complemented by custom online storefronts and swift ordering. Visit www.gearbyfusion.com and let Fusion seamlessly weave your branding into elite merchandise.
We talked about the momentum shift. We have another one.
We have another one. From 2-love, Nunez Osses-Konig to 3-2 Bostrom Regalado. So adjust.
And, something on that game point from Osses-Konig, I didn't love his choice right there.
Yeah.
He kind of got baited into hitting a drive, but the ball was low and in front of him in the court. And he's such a high ball hitter, when the ball's up into his body and, the ball's a little closer to his body. And there he got a little stretch out of his comfort zone and dumped it in the net on, a pretty critical game point.
Great speed up by Alvaro there.
15-30.
Yeah, and it's just paddle by nature in these, the finals of the Atlantic Classic, and you have a couple great teams playing against each other. There's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster, but I do think Martin Bostrom and Regalado have made a couple key adjustments. I do think they're playing faster. Not as fast as you would think, but they are driving more balls. I love that lob by Martin down the line.
Oh, amazing get by.
And to what Patty said a few times, Martin is becoming more of the guy hitting overheads at the net. So yeah, see, early on in the match, we did not see 2 drives in a row like that. And I like it a lot.
They were the absolute right shots.
Alvey's an artist out on this court. He's got to be creative, and giving him some free swings here is huge. I love the play, Bostrom switching on the baseline right here and letting Alvey maybe loosen up a little bit with his baseline play.
Oh, what pace.
Nice.
So I agree with you, Patty. I think
15-40.
Alvey felt like he was holding back a little bit. Felt like he was just waiting a little bit too long, and now that's changed. He's moving more dynamically, 2 drives in a row. He's He's relying on his hands. He's moving. He's creating a lot more pressure for Nunez and Osses-Konig to make. They have to make new decisions now, where they're going to hit that ball harder, softer. So he's just changed the dynamic a little bit.
And again,
Between the legs. That's an instant replay ball. Let's take a look at this.
And we talk all the time about momentum shifts and how do you change momentum, and sometimes it's just a function of being in the right place at the right time, executing, and then just feeling a giant sense of relief, the weight of the world off your shoulders. And I think we're seeing Regalado loosening up here.
Yeah, the last 3 or 4 games have been quicker than the entire match. I mean, these guys are. And I do think, too, by Martin and Regalado switching out in the backcourt, it has allowed for them to get better looks and more drives. And how do you think Martin and Regalado switch at the net here?
I'd love to see it.
Wow, good ball.
Alvey was feeling a little too loose, and he hit that drop cutter. Wasn't the right time. He didn't really have, it wasn't. You've got to hit that shot when you see that you've got a baseline player in trouble somewhere, and they were not in trouble, and that's why the error.
I still think the #1 shot from Osses-Konig and Nunez that's hurting Bostrom and Regalado is the forehand, which you just saw.
30.
In forehand. That's the one shot they can't let beat them. Even if Osses-Konig drives that backhand, they can be in front of the ball.
And again, we had a similar point in the first set with the match and the momentum that Bostrom and Regalado had, and all of a sudden Osses-Konig and Nunez were able to switch the switch on in the first set, and they're hoping for that right now.
15-40.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Little switch here. I like it.
I like it as well. Made him think about it. Martin hits a backhand overhead, and another change in momentum.
Bostrom Regalado lead the second set 4-3. Nunez Osses-Konig won the first 6-4.
That was the exact game that Nunez and Osses-Konig wanted in that moment. Fast game, got up early. And stopped the momentum.
4-3.
Again, that's the voice of our umpire, Mike Yahimski, doing a phenomenal job. He's just a great guy out of the Indian Trail Club. Travels all over, so it's nice that he only has to drive a couple minutes to help umpire this weekend. Gigantic game on on the paddle of Osses-Konig here.
Let's see if Martin and Regalado switch here again. Wow. And Nunez and Osses-Konig are fine staying on these sides in the backcourt. Different look other than the last game. And it's kind of what we spoke about a few minutes ago, having the ability to switch sides of the court to change the tempo.
Love 15.
I love them taking a little time here. This is a huge point for Osses-Konig and Nunez.
So the tale of two matches, Patty and Anthony. I mean, the whole first set, for most of it, was more of a traditional paddle match, and now you're starting to see the new wave of paddle. I mean, just
15-30.
two different matches, really.
And it's that pressure applied right off of the return of serve. You just saw Regalado and Bostrom just move forward. They're not waiting. They're not giving that, Nunez and Osses-Konig the ability to hit a first volley to a safe spot on the court. They're taking that away, and they're blitzing immediately right off the return of serve.
Amazing anticipation by Alvaro to get that second shot.
What a dig there.
What a dig. 3 or 4 great
Wow.
shots and another drop shot, no problem. Martin unable to get it. That's a hell of a point.
Wow, what a great point.
Let's take a look at this dig.
It was nice of Martin to let Alvy run for that short ball and beat him there. But Martin was right there in stride with his much younger
He
partner.
was.
He was there step by step.
This is a very large point. 30 all.
In a very large game.
That's what I mean. It's the difference between obviously 4 all or 5-3, coming up here. I mean, it's 30 all still, but I actually, even though I don't mind the switch in the backcourt by Nunez and Osses-Konig, I still like Nunez over in that ad side because I just think his forehand has been the big weapon back there. Because when the ball goes there and it doesn't go to the side wire, you just don't know if he's going to drive or lob or where he's going to drive or lob. It could go down the line or cross court.
40-30.
40-30. I thought Martin took the right shot there, just didn't execute. He's going to...
A great move for Nunez to cut off that ball going in the middle because he saw the commitment from Bostrom going forward and just stuffed it behind him. Regalado, great teamwork just to cover for Bostrom behind him.
Regalado gets caught a little bit short on the court on that one. He's questioning why, and
Nunez,
that's the game.
Osses-Konig. Second set is tied 4 all.
So, Patty and Anthony, you're seeing both teams kind of play similar now. They're switching out in the backcourt. They're playing much more north to south. What do you think a match comes down to like this? Because they're both playing more or less the same. I mean, I almost feel like it's going to come down to who plays better, who volleys better, who makes, plays the bigger points better.
This is going to be the bigger points played better. I think that last statement you made is the key. Who will be able to focus in that moment to take the right shot at the right time, make the right decision. That's all it's going to come down to. They keep adapting. Both teams keep adapting their plan, their strategy, and they're in step with what's needed at the moment. So I think it is going to come down to discipline and execution in this moment. This is the kind of match and set that comes down to 1 or 2 points.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of why I threw out those options, but I honestly couldn't agree with you more. I mean, every point isn't the same. There are bigger points, and when you're transitioning as much as these guys are like this, I mean, it's gonna be about who hit the right shot or better shot at the right time. I mean, that's it.
I think it's
Like
like
that.
this 49ers
that.
game last night with the Packers. You know, 49ers didn't play a great game. Brock Purdy was a little off, but he did it when it counted. Whoever's going to rise here, one player is going to be the difference maker right at the end of this match.
There's that blitz.
And even like Regalado there, that move he just made, great move. The point would have been over had he volleyed through him, but I mean, just a little tight, you know. He's not tight, but his left.
Hey, Guy, real fast. What do you mean when you say playing vertical? Someone in our audience wants to know, named Macy Elliott. How do you explain that comment?
Vertical is just moving forward and transitioning, you know, moving up and back instead of just staying at the net or staying on the baseline and it's a little bit less in this temperature than when it's a little warmer. But, you know, when I hit through you at the net or I'm looking to blitz, I'm going to be moving forward, right? And a lot of times when it's a little warmer out, but you're still seeing it here, I hit the ball through you with enough pace that the ball becomes offensive wire from the team that's transitioning, then they're moving back, and then oftentimes they're moving right back to the net. So that's what I refer to as north and south, because teams are moving up, teams are moving back.
Huge drive by Martin Bostrom there to bring it to 30
That's what
all.
you're seeing in this part of the set.
Got it. Thanks, Guy, because
Yep.
I wasn't sure what you meant by vertical at all times either, I must admit. Thanks, Macy, for asking the question for me.
So we talk about the one person that's going to make the shot at the right time. I will say it's too early to call this, but Martin really executed that drive to bring this to 30 all.
Yeah,
Such a
so many
smart
matches.
timing.
We've seen, Anthony, over the years where there's just one player who elevates. Somehow, in that moment, there's someone who shines.
And they want the ball and they shine. And I don't know if you heard this from where you are, Patty, but I'm courtside essentially, and Alvy just slid on the court again, and it sounded like it was hard true court. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on the other end of the hut, Anthony. You can't see me because I do not go vertical.
30-40.
30-40.
You can see the importance of this point, and we talk about when the play does, when it's critical, the game does slow down a little bit. And, well, there we go. Now Osses-Konig sneaking in a little bit, but playing a little bit more defensive-minded in this point, not applying as much pressure by his court position.
Yeah, and I agree. I think if this were not this point, Nunez would have blitzed on that when I saw him creep forward as well, and that's been his trigger for blitzing, and he decided not to. So I think, yes, I think you're right. I'm going to take this point a little bit more deliberately, and Nunez lobs out. Bring it to deuce. There's the blitz. A little too aggressive from Alvy there. It was coming right to Martin.
Right, so hard to pull off and not hit that ball.
Yes. He had no business being in no man's land with a half volley let cord winner. And that brings it to 5-4. And that could be the shot that makes the match, right? We talk about one shot in one moment, and it's 5-4, and maybe we look back on this and say that was the shot that decided this set.
That was sick. That was just incredible hands from Nunez there. We expect nothing less, but that was a great play. And, he was moving in the net. He was looking for something, and then he was forced because of his position in there just to come up with an amazing hands play, and he did. Awesome.
Nunez to
So
serve
we
for
have
the match.
Yeah, I think that's going to be tough for Bostrom Regalado to overcome that. That just was spectacular in the moment. We've seen that a ton on the floor in the women's game where you see like the Macy Elliott's, the floor handlers are just known for, in that moment of truth, when someone needs to rise, that they have the willingness and they can recognize an opportunity to put like a sequence of shots together, and it can really shift the match. And right there, that could be the shot.
I'm a big believer in you make your own luck, right? He came to the net. He's been doing it all day. Great get, drop shot, point over. You make your own luck. You're in the right place at the right time. Did you see how composed he was getting to that net? So and it worked out in his favor.
Nunez might have to change his sneakers. He's doing a little slip and sliding out here. I think that's his. We talked about that. He's a slider out here on the court. And that takes a ton of coordination and athletic ability and balance to be able to slide effectively on a platform tennis court. It's why you don't see it much. You're looking for Bostrom here to apply some pressure. He's getting a couple of hits in a row there, but negated by awesome volley from Osses-Konig and Nunez.
That ball goes wide.
Except for that. And that's just where, Anthony, the play shifting back and forth. Sometimes that's a dangerous thing to do, and it just proved to be dangerous right there. Just maybe taking his eye off the ball, a volley error, all of a sudden. Just when I was thinking this match might be over, Bostrom Regalado get a little bit of a little more hope in here.
Wow, what a drive. You talk about big
Oh
players making big shots in the big moments, and Martin's hit 4 or 5 really good drives there. That didn't work out for them, but he's still looking for the ball. He's looking for the shot, even at down 5-4.
Yeah, but that drive just broke down the volley. He just spotted that drive, got him to flip his paddle over, forced the volley error. I mean, that was all about the spot Nunez picked for his drive. That's what's critical. He didn't drive it right at him where it's an obvious backhand volley. He handcuffed him. Guys on standby listening mode. He did so much talking in those first 2 sets that he's going to take a breather now, Anthony.
30-all.
Sounds good. Alvey was looking for that ball all the way, jumps the line, backhand drive to go up 40-30.
Yeah, Nunez going with a little bit of a finesse kind of overhead right there, just didn't put enough on it, and Regalado was all over it, knew exactly the shot that he was going to hit.
Can't decide who wants the ball more. Everyone wants the ball. That's the sign of a great match.
Yeah, you see Regalado's positioning on the baseline. Anthony is sliding over. That means he really wants. He's trying to hit an aggressive forehand versus a little bit more defensive-minded play. You know, and you could just feel it. I could just feel like no matter what, he was going to pull the trigger fairly soon, right there, and he did. Unfortunately, it didn't work out.
Right, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same exact spot that he had success with on the last one. It got a little bit too far away from him, but you're absolutely right. He's looking for these opportunities.
And that's where you need the discipline as a player to not force it. You can look to be aggressive, but it's hard to look to be aggressive off both your forehand and your two-handed backhand at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Advantage Nunez,
There's
Osses-Konig.
one of the first mental errors I've seen from Martin Bostrom over there. Really wasn't, that's not his favorite shot for sure, but he was trying to catch the net team by surprise.
Match point number one. Yep, match point number one here, Anthony.
And that was a quick match point.
Game, set,
What a match.
championship.
Nunez, Osses-Konig
Osses-Konig
win the finals of the Atlanta Classic
6-4.
6-4. Fantastic match. Any parting comments,
match.
Patty, on this? The
Unbelievable
last couple of games?
Anthony's so impressive. The play out here of all four players, really high level. You know, our game is in such amazing shape with the influx of all these young players. You look at the APTI Cup standings or rankings, these guys are making their presence felt immediately in this game. And, phenomenal play. Really thrilled for Nunez and Osses-Konig there. And Osses-Konig's had a little bit of a frustrating season, little up and down with Chris Humphrey, and I think he has righted his ship. Such impressive play, Anthony. Congratulations to everyone and the tournament. Ridgewood, wonderful job joining the APTA Tour, and kudos to Connor and Louie for a wonderful job. Thanks to all the umpires, and thanks to Jake in the production booth.
Snuggie was a home run.
Well done, Patty. Thank you to Mike Yahimski. That's the umpire. And that is a wrap from the Atlanta Classic, Ridgewood Country Club, Paramus, New Jersey.
Thanks, Anthony. We'll see you next weekend in Detroit. Third Grand Prix of the year for the APTA.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Macy Elliott, and my tip of the week is on your roller. A lot of times when I see people hit rollers, they tend to go over the ball because they want to bring it down and create more spin. But when you do that, you're actually going to create a lot of pressure on your elbow. So a lot of times when people get tennis elbow, it's from that. Instead, I want you to go straight up on the ball and pretend like you're going to finish all the way up with your knuckles to your ear. This upward motion will create more spin and it will grab less of the ball than if you were to go over it. If you grab too much of the ball, you don't get as much spin and it's not quite as effective versus going straight up the back and finishing up by your ear. I'm Macy Elliott. Hope you enjoyed this tip of the week. I'll see you on the courts.